Plan it, post it, right? Here's our Q4 content build out. And what I want to say is, y'all, our team members are on this call today. So I want to share with you what we're about to show you is not something that we're theoretically approaching. We're actually showing our content plan for the first time to not only you, but them as well. All right. So we're doing this in real time so we can work through this as a team. Now we'll have a follow up as a team, work through this together as you should. And this is why I'm bringing this up. And what we're about to share today, honestly, is really simple. I'm not going to show you anything that's earth shattering that you have never heard before. Now, I want to caution you that does not mean that you're not going to get value from today. I promise you, I'm going to deliver as much value as humanly possible. Okay. However, I'm not going to introduce complexity into your world coming into Q4. All right. We are rolling into Q4. I know a lot of people are doing business planning for 2026, and that's totally fine. You can take this and apply that to your life there, which I do think is prudent. Would not be a bad idea at all. So keep that in mind as you kind of rock through it. All right. Now, getting into this. What we're going to share is simple, but it's not easy. Okay, it's simple to understand, it's simple to approach, but it's not easy in the respect that it's going to take a lot of discipline and accountability on your part to achieve what it's going to take to get to the end result. All right, so as we roll through this is the whole game here. Okay, now if you guys have been in my world, you know that this is where I start every single time. Who is your ideal client? Or if you're in the state of Florida or transaction state, who's your ideal customer? Okay. We are in a transaction broker state. However, we only work as fiduciaries for our clients up front. If they ask us to transition into a transaction broker, we will. But the reason that I'm sharing that with you is because we are not generalist when it comes to having conversation with our ideal client. Okay. And I'm going to break this out for you because when people hear that, they're like, well, I can serve everybody. You know, I've got a commercial license and I've got a residential license and I can do and I understand that. I'm sure you're wonderfully capable of doing all those things. But when it comes to marketing and building an attraction-based business, the most important thing that you can do for yourself is start in a position that you are speaking to your ideal client. Okay. Got to be there. Eric, we are recording, correct?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Perfect. I didn't see the little red light. Now, what do I mean by this? For years in marketing schools, they would teach us about demographics. Demographics meaning like, okay, who is your ideal client? Well, they're a 24 to 35-year old. They live in this, they're a male or female, and fashion does a lot of this. Okay. And that is a good component to understand because I think a lot of us do have that customer that we're used to seeing or a client that we're used to seeing. Maybe they're retirees. Maybe they're step-up home buyers, meaning that they're selling their first home and moving up to the second one. Maybe they're the empty nesters, right? Their kids went off to college and now they're moving to another. I don't know what it is who you serve. However, but the demographics are only one component of that equation. And as a matter of fact, as more uh, more people and more things are fighting for your ideal client attention, you're going to have to be more and more specific with the value that you bring. Okay. Being a generalist in the future is going to be very difficult because information is no longer a distinguishable barrier of entry between me and anyone else in this space, right? In theory, we can all have pretty close to the same IQ at this point, correct? Y'all tracking with me? Right? And yeah, I don't know how to do the math equations to get physics right. That's not the thing. But I can go to a machine now and just ask it the question, and I can be in the game. So information is no longer the barrier of entry. And it hasn't been for a while, y'all. If you look in our industry, look at Zillow. What Zillow did was what the National Associations of Realtors should have done. But regardless of that, they just said, hey, you know what? We're going to take all of this gate kept information and we're going to make it public. And what did the public do? They rewarded them with their attention. All right. They rewarded them with their attention. And ever since then, our industry has been changing a lot. And part of this is because most people have just been focused on everyone. I can serve anyone who's buying or selling. I can, and again, I know you can. But if you want people to show up in your world on purpose, intentionally, and end up in your calendar, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that here shortly, you have to speak to that individual like they are sitting across the table from you, whether it's through email, whether it's through text messages, phone calls, video, whatever means of distribution you're going to use. All right, we've got to get really, really personal with people because once you start to help them understand that you know what they're afraid of. Hey, I understand that you don't want to live in an area that, is X, Y, or Z, whatever that thing is for them. Hey, I know exactly what you're describing is this exact neighborhood. Okay. Yeah, you live in a great place now, but what you're describing, like this pain, like, have you ever thought about moving? No, no, why would we do it? Well, you're telling me you don't like this, and if you do it here, it'll match your ideal lifestyle perfectly. And that changes people's game plan. So, what are the psychographics behind that? Right? What are the questions we need to be asking ourselves? What are their fears? What are their concerns? What excites them? I know a lot of people move because they have to, but I'm here to tell you guys, you don't have to serve just the people that move because they have to, whether they're selling or buying. And I'm not mad at anybody because they're moving. We will serve those customers. We don't turn them away. But a majority of the clients who come into our life get to do a thing. It's choice. And when you get to do something, you typically have a much better attitude walking into it. So understanding what are the triggers that help people consider moving, whether that's buying or selling, how can you show up with those specific answers? Right? In our industry right now, everybody's running around talking about AI. Right? They're all running around talking about AI, which is fair. We should. We're early adopters in this space for the most part, which I absolutely love and appreciate. Right? That's the question. And if you've listened to other people in the industry, they say we're moving from search to ask. Has anybody ever heard that term before? If you've heard that term, do me a favor, put a yes in the chat. Have you heard anybody say we're moving from search base to ask base? All right, meaning that, hey, I don't want a whole bunch of different answers. I want the answer. Right? I want the answer. I don't have time to go and check your work. Just give me the answer. Right? And our ideal clients are no different. And when you start answering their questions online, you're the one who is positioned as the expert. Okay, so who is your who? Now, talking about AI, I want to share something with you guys because this post just rocked my world. It just absolutely rocked my world. Eric, what are you guys seeing right now?
We got Facebook.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure because we were on the share. All right, so this right here, y'all, rocked my world. Buddy of mine sent this to me the other day because we had a 2 hour conversation about the regurgitation of information that we're already seeing. Right? Everybody sounds the same, they look the same, and we are using AI in the back end too. But we've been frustrated with this. Eric and I had a meeting with our production team this week about something's off, right? And we've been testing all of this content, right? Scripts and all those things. And listen, AI does a good job, and there's definitely a use case for it. But I got this post from my friend here, and don't try to read this. I will read it with you, I promise. I know it's really small. But it did the best job of summing up what I think is actually happening out there right now. And maybe I'm the only one. And you guys can help me with this. I don't think I'm the only one, but does anybody else feel overwhelmed with the amount of information that is available to you on a daily basis? Y'all with me? Maybe yes. Thumbs up. Yep. I mean, it's just like a million things are coming at us all the time. There's so much new technology, and I'm gonna have Eric speak to that in a minute. There's so much I have so much stuff that I bought this year that I haven't even touched yet, y'all. AI programs and all this it is overwhelming. And it's distracting us from the core issues of our business. Okay. And I don't think that a unique flower or we're unique flowers in this. So we're going to get into this. But I want to read this post to you. Let me set this up. Julie Chanel is the founder of a company called Funnel Gorgeous. She also was the CMO at ClickFunnels under Russell Brunson. And you guys know how much I appreciate Russell. Russell, if you don't, been coaching with him forever. Okay. And Julie has also had a coaching program called Digital Natives and an agency. And I can go on and on and on of the seven-figure companies this young lady has put together. But one of the things I will say about Julie that I respect about her more than anything else is how she thinks through things. She is an articulate writer. She is blessed with copywriting, but the reason that is because how she looks at problems. And I want to read this with y'all because this rocked my world. And if you're watching this later, I will put a link to this post later. I'm not vouching for Julie as a human being. That's not why we're here to have this conversation. I just want to put that out there for everybody. I think she's incredible, but I'm not in here telling you this is somebody you should go follow. I think it's worth it, but I just want to make sure that I'm walking you guys through how I approach this. Now, yesterday, this was October 1st at 8:30 in the morning. Yesterday was a perfect example of information versus transformation. Okay, we all know that when we sell our courses online, programs, we're not really selling information, even though it feels like it sometimes. Videos, worksheets, workbooks, Zoom calls, swipe files, etc. Isn't that what people are paying for? Giant question mark. No, they're paying for transformation. Okay, and being someone who's been transformed personally, right, in my faith, that word has a lot of weight in my life. Okay, and we see the continued disruption of knowledge with AI becoming the primary method of accessing information. This cliche phrase is more important to understand than ever. So what happened yesterday? Question mark. A private client came over to my home and began working on her ads. The information she needed was as follows. Number one, how to make powerful content for warming up her account. Number two, the scripts for the reels. Number three, the step-by-step walkthrough of recording the reel and editing it. Number four, getting a business account on Facebook, and going through the verification process. Number five, setting up the ads. By the way, all of this information is tucked away in several products I sell. And by the way, I'm going to put this little editorial on there. YouTube, you can find all this stuff for free everywhere, right? It's how I learned how to set up my Facebook account. Probably a lot of you did too, right? All of that information is free. Okay. So she did not need to come to my home to learn this. She had the information available to her. She also had me virtually via Voxer for any questions. Voxer is an app so you can talk directly to somebody. But there was still a gap between having and knowing the information and the actually running the ads. The easiest way to define the difference between the two is this. When you have information, the knowledge lives outside of you. When you achieve transformation, the knowledge lives inside of you. Oh my God. Write that down. That's a writer downer. So good, so simple. How did coming to my house create a situation where the knowledge moved from outside of her to inside? She needed more emotional support than I could give her virtually. She needed someone to break down the info into the tiniest pieces so she could ingest it. She needed reassurance that her execution on the knowledge was correct and good. She needed help discerning what the user error and what was glitchy software error. She needed practice. When it comes to online courses, the days of set it and forget it are over. AI will chew you up and spit you out. At a minimum, it's important to be a present instructor for your students in the form of Q&A. More than likely, you'll need options more than ever for support. Notice, to achieve transformation, you have to address a few issues: emotional and nervous system bandwidth, tactical organization and teaching so the information is digestible. Wisdom is underrated here because I could tell you what the user error and what it wasn't. Repetition and action. And the last sentence is ask yourself how you can add those things into your programs to ensure your knowledge is moving from outside to in. Insert the word client, right? Insert the word client. Remove the programs and all the other crap. None of that matters, right? What matters are the things that have always mattered, y'all. The things that have always mattered are the emotional supports that we give our clients, correct? How many of you are really nothing but underpaid therapist, right? This is the thing, right? They need someone to break down the information to the most digestible pieces. Okay, they need reassurance. They need help discerning what is good, what is not, what mistakes that they could make, and they need practice. And that's where we come in. Okay. Now, I wanted to share this post with y'all because it literally hit me like a ton of bricks. We've been talking about this, the infobesity, right? All of us are going to be on Zoom calls and meetings and masterminds for the next 3 months, and only a few of us are going to be doing the actual work. And I know this to be true because I look at the sales stats. 70% of every agent who is licensed in this country, every realtor, forgive me, will not list and sell a home in 2025. We're not part of that squad. You're not part of that squad. Most of us don't need more information. We need a lot more action. And our goal today, by the end of this, is to put you in motion. All right, really get you into action here and help you break this down to the most digestible parts for your business. Cool. Eric, I want to talk before we move past that part. Okay. I just want Eric to talk about technology really quickly. Because as you guys know, he's my business partner, but most importantly, he's my uh, don't spend time doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing human being. That's who Eric really is in my life. All right. So I want Eric to talk about tech because I know a lot of questions. Like a lot of people think that the next tech thing is what's going to solve your business problem. And I'm just here to tell you it's not. All right. So go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, well, you just said it, so I don't need to talk about it. It's not going to solve your problem. No, well, what I want to start with is like, we've been looking at our business and going through the different phases of, if you guys have been in the business since 2018, you remember when Facebook was really coming out with ads, and we were hot on the lead gen, right? With Facebook, we were early adopters of Google BPC. We've always been trying to figure out like what type of business did we really want and where those leads were going to come from. A lot of lessons learned, throughout that time frame. And one of the biggest questions that we get, in this space in our coaching program is like, well, how are you doing that? Like, what systems do I need? Right? Everyone always jumps to the tech side of it. Same with video creation, right? What equipment do I need to go buy? Right? Who here has ever bought a piece of equipment or a piece of software that has absolutely changed your life for the better? Okay. Did that piece of equipment get used without you? The answer is no. All right. The answer is no. And there's things that are going to come into your life that are going to be um, something that's going to help you go faster, something that's going to help you do things less expensive, right? Or just give you that slight edge that you need. But let's be real. Like there's creators in this space that have built their same business, every same business that we have today with just this iPhone, just the iPhone. No fancy tech equipment, no fancy cameras, no DSLRs, no nothing, right? Good piece of audio and an iPhone. Yet we find ourselves standing in the way, right? So anytime I'm asked that question, like, "Hey, what equipment are you using?" And just like the question of what CRM is the best, I chuckle at this one. Like, who's heard this before? What CRM are you using? What CRM should I be using as a real estate agent? All right, you guys are all laughing because you've either heard that question asked or you've asked it yourself, and you're looking in the mirror right now saying, "Yep, that was me." Right? And the God's honest truth is the one that you're going to use. Right? We overcomplicate this, and we stand in our own way with all this tech. I'm I'm a prime example of this. Right? We have so much automation, so many things going on, and I sat down at the beginning of this year and I made it a goal to remove complexity from our business. And I told Juan, I said, we're not implementing another piece of tech in our business. I'm not here for it. We're not going to do it. We're not going to look at any of these new programs. We're not going to do it. Doesn't mean don't educate yourself and invest in and keep in mind like what's going on on the edges of AI, but truly think about how is that going to affect your day to day, right? And I'll give you an example of this. Um, we have a CRM, that has dialers in it, so we can go and literally call our entire list, of agents or of not agents, of clients, right? Well, you can do the same thing with a spreadsheet and your cell phone. The only difference is you're dialing the numbers, you're punching them in. So that takes time. That is going to eat up some of your bandwidth. Might not be able to get to as many people as you want on a day-to-day basis. But we have a CRM where dialers are there. It's a click of a button and you're connected and starting to dial, with that individual. Now, just this week, we set a goal to in a sales challenge, for our team, say, hey, we got $1,000 right here, $1,000 on the line. First person to go make 25 connects wins $1,000. Okay. Nobody claimed that $1,000 this week, right? And that's not to say that it's not attainable. It's just that even though we have all this technology in front of us, the auto click, like I can see if somebody's like, hey, I couldn't get to that because I punch it in these numbers. Okay, cool. Let's solve that. Let's get you a dialer system. Great, we got a dialer system. Now, $1,000 online, make 25 connects. Didn't happen. All right. So at this point, what is the barrier of entry on this? Is it the technology or is it the willingness to just get in and do the work? Right. And that's where we all stand when it comes to tech, and we're trying to figure out that next new thing, but we're avoiding the work that needs to be done regardless. Doesn't matter if you got a Ferrari or a Pinto machine over there. Like you still gotta get in the car, turn the key, put it into gear, and press the gas. Still takes the same amount of motion. One of them is just going to take you a lot further, a lot faster.
Yeah. So I wanted Eric to share that, y'all, because the technology that there's nothing that anybody's going to introduce this year that is going to be groundbreaking in terms of you making connections with human beings and converting them into clients. There'll be stuff that'll help accelerate it, but there is no groundbreaking thing that's going to happen. All right. Well, I want to keep rolling here on the slides and get back into the heat of this, but I thought it was super important on that because like we've gone the gambit and bought all the things with you guys, so we we know how that feels, big time. All right, so the next question, after you know who your who is, and I want to share with you guys my who are a couple by the name of Brian and Abby Cook. Abby is a remote worker. She's in sales actually for the Covey Franklin Company. She sells giant corporate development packages to companies. She literally checks in with them, does the thing so she can work remote, doesn't even fly around the country to close those sales, but she sells personal development packages to corporations, which is awesome. Brian was a school teacher by trade. Now he teaches tennis. He actually is a teaches people who really want their kids to go to college. He makes they make great money together, y'all. They moved from Indiana to Tampa here, bought an $850,000 house because they wanted to. They wanted to move their life. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because for them, that is my ideal client. That is my who, right? Now, the question becomes who is your who? Do you know them that well? That way you can speak to that person every time. All of our posts, all of our emails, they go out in that phrase. Now, the next question that you need to ask yourself for the remainder of this year, and if you don't know this yet, get to knowing it. Where are the fish? So if your who's are the fishes, where do they hang out? Where do they congregate? Both online and offline. Okay, are they on things like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? We've talked about this before with our content club community, but not everybody is on the same platform. Remember, we are power users of all things attention typically. Not every person in this room is, and I understand that. And that should already give you an insight because there are agents in here who don't have TikTok as an example. They might be military families and not allowed to use it. Okay. And if that's not your ideal client, you don't know. All right. Some of you may serve seniors. All right. Seniors are on things like Facebook and YouTube. All right. They're not necessarily always on Instagram. Sometimes they are. All right. You got millennials. They're probably hanging out on Instagram. However, we talk about things like this and we often skip the most obvious one. The most obvious one that we all have access to that we don't have to fight anyone for attention for. Does anybody know what that might be? When we talk about where the fish are, where are our people? Where do you think that might be, y'all? Put it in chat. Nadine says YouTube. Well, there definitely some of them there, but what's the one that you don't have to Yeah, there we go. Rue nailed it. CRM, Anita, good job. Koa said email, same thing. Think database, right? Database, your sphere. You do not need permission to get in front of these human beings. Now, are YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, blogs, your website? The answer is yes. They're all valuable. They're all digital real estate. But the most important real estate that you actually own, because all those platforms are rented in some way, shape, or form. We don't own them. We got to ask permission. We can't make violations or we lose it. But as soon as you have somebody's name and number and email, your game changes. You no longer need permission. Okay? So when you're thinking about where your fish are, the last 90 days of this year, and we get into the calendar days, I think we're a little less than 60 business days between now and the end of the year. Y'all, starting up new campaigns and stuff like that is not going to get you in the game of closing in the next 60 business days. Right? If you're looking for now business, if you're looking for prime in 2026, that needs to be deep inside of your database first. Okay, first. So when we're looking at stuff like this, who is your who? Where are they right now for the remainder of the year? And even in your Q1 planning of 2026, where are my people? Where are they going to be hanging out for the next 3 months specifically? All right, 2.5 months on 2026. Where are they? And that's what leads you to your distribution planning. Okay. And over here, I want you to think two things for the remainder of this year, y'all. I want you to think about two specific things: depth and width. Okay, has anybody ever heard that old saying, right? That person is a mile wide but only an inch deep, right? Or they're a mile wide and it's meaning that they are overwhelmed, right? They're not getting any traction. There are different ways that I've heard people say that phrase before, but the underlying, right? The underlying issue there is they're spread too thin, and we don't want to be spread too thin. Okay, trying to go out and ratchet up a whole bunch of platforms that you're not even maybe even accustomed to yet may not be the best situation for you. It should be in your game. You shouldn't ignore it another 6 months because you've already ignored it for the first 6 years of your career. But what I'm saying is if you're going to nail 2025, you're going to finish this year strong. It's going to start with depth first, right? Depth first. All right, I'm passionate about this because Eric and I are about to share some hard numbers with you guys that we got our behinds kicked on this year. All right. Okay. Now I want to get into the depth and width component of that. But before I do that, I want to share something with you guys. Okay. Eric, you see the calendar right now?
Yep, we gotcha.
Cool. So this is our Calendly Calendly scheduler. Every client appointment that we have, except for the ones in person, i.e., a listing appointment or the random local buyers that we've met at a coffee shop. Almost all of our other appointments, a majority of them, 99 or 98% of them, all come through Zoom first. Okay. And Calendly is how that is done. The Calendly appointment scheduler for us is our lifeblood. So you're looking at 2025 year to date, January 1st through October 8th today. We've created 392 events. Okay. Now, on those events, I just want to share with you guys, we got a couple little one-off kind of things here. So, for the sake of conversation, though, let's just say 380. It's right around there. We've had 309 completed events. Now, what does that mean? We actually met with someone. They showed up to that space. We've confirmed it, had 309 of those. Okay. We had 21 rescheduled events out of the 392 and 83 canceled events, which is a lot, 10% roughly. Okay. However, that number is much better than it was last year and something we worked on purpose. Now, why am I sharing this with you guys? Right? Because when we talk about depth and width, people who are a mile wide but only an inch thick get a lot of attention, but they don't get a lot of traction. They get a lot of attention, right? But they don't produce a lot of transformation in their clients or I'm sorry, people in their audience. They might get a lot of attention, but they're not converting that into actual business. And this isn't to be a flex, guys. This is just to share with you the results that are possible when you're intentionally focused on this. Okay. So this is part of it. Out of this 309 completed events, we've had 120 buyers sign buyer broker agreements with us this year. Okay. Which is incredible to say that out loud. We've closed 77 properties. We got like another 10 or 11 pending. We're going to close well over 100 homes this year. Okay, awesome. That's great. But y'all, Eric and I want to share something with you guys and be very transparent. Okay, and I'm going to talk about depth and width here in a second. Well, let me get into that first, and then I want to share with you the other results. What you're looking at here is the back end of our YouTube, the lifetime of our YouTube channel. And the reason that I'm sharing this with you is because this is primarily how we bring this business in. 90% of our closed business last year was from YouTube. Now, this past Monday, 2 Mondays ago, I shared with my Clubhouse community, shout out to you guys, by the way. I went back all the way to 2017 and shared with you what we were doing in our business, right? Working a full-time job, closing 25 to 35 properties a year, but 70% of that was SOI, y'all. 70% versus my business last year, which was 90% one source, which sounds super sexy to say. I've been invited on stage to talk, and they're like, oh, you've got 2.5 million views. You've got 317,000 hours of watch time on one of our YouTube channels. This doesn't even include Eric's channel. This is just Juan's, right? 21,600 subscribers. You guys have brought in $21,000 in revenue, 30,000 impressions, and over the lifetime of your channel, you have a 5% click-through rate, meaning when people see our thumbnails, 5% of every person on YouTube has clicked that thumbnail. And man, we could sit here and pat ourselves on the back and be like, we're awesome, but I'm here to tell you, y'all, with with that blessing also comes some hard lessons. And I know well, I don't know this, but my theory is that if I went to each and every one of you, wonderful human beings, and asked you your conversion rate from SOI and database to paid advertisements, almost all of you would be heavy towards your SOI and database, right? And that's not a bad thing. That's a healthy business. What Eric and I are looking at is a business where we're leaking all of the relationships out of the back end. So much so that two-thirds, if I objectively look at that, if we polled all of you, most of you would say that over two-thirds of your business comes from SOI and database. So while, yeah, we've got all these sexy results, whatever it is, lots of some people, not to others. What him and I are looking at is we are leaking two-thirds of our business out the back door because we're too busy focused on the now, the only, right? Which is a beautiful problem to have. And I want all of you to be able to solve this later too. Right? But what we're looking at is, okay, we're going to do 100 and something properties this year, which should really be 350. We ain't close. We're not going to come close to 350. Why? Because our depth is broken. We are a mile wide and an inch thick. Now we've got a big bucket. It's collecting a lot of people up front. It's a huge blessing, but it doesn't change the fundamentals of our business aren't foundationally sound yet. Okay. Now it's not that we don't know how. We were 70% SOI and referral before we started doing this. So we know, but what we've done is we've left them behind. We've forgotten we walked away from that business. And we're going to fix that. All right. We're going to get very deep. So when we talk about distribution, we're going to do that. So how are we going to do that? Okay, this is what I want to walk you guys through. So you're going to do this in two ways. I want to break this down to the simplest level. So it's like time to really start taking notes. Okay, how many ways are we going to do this in? Two, right? Exactly. Two, two ways. First, you're going to do this one to one. Now, these people are belly to belly. I don't care how you get into your belly to belly. I don't care whether that happens at an actual coffee shop, online, phone calls, FaceTimes. None of that's relevant, guys. It's all just a form of connection. But the one to one is you need to focus on this for the next 50 days, business days. This is the game, and this is going to set you up for a ton of success in 2026. Okay. That's first thing. Next, where are we going with this? One to many. One to many. So, how do you get reach? We're talking about depth first, but how do you also get reach at the same time so you're not walking away from the opportunities that are out there that you can snag to grow your business? Because again, I know a lot of you are great at SOI and database, right? And we're going to build plans behind all of this. This is where I want to get into as we round this out today. We're actually going to start building some stuff out with you guys. Okay. So, first of all, we're going to do this with one to one. Second, you're going to look at this as a one to many. How do we get to one to many? Okay. Now, what I want to share with you is an example calendar. This is going to be our content calendar for it. And I'm going to open this up. What I don't want you to do is get overwhelmed with the tech. This is why I asked Eric to talk about this. We'll talk about this later. Here's what I'll say. I think our content calendar, I know it's a template, I think I can share because I bought it from somebody else. We've made all kinds of adjustments to it. But the point I'm sharing this with is if I can share this with you, we will gladly give this to you. But what I don't want to do is give somebody a new piece of tech to harass their life with for the next 50 days when they're supposed to be talking to their ideal client. Okay. So I just want to say that up front before we get into the weeds of what this actually looks like. Oh, cool. You can see the Notion, correct, Eric? Okay. All right. I want us, before we move anywhere, this is October of 2025. Okay. Here's the first thing I just want to stop here. How many of you have an actual content calendar? Go ahead and put it in the chat. If you say yes or no, this is no judgment, right? Yes or no? Okay. Well, you guys are in the right place. You're in the right place. The goal here is to do I want you to look at this and say, well, I don't have that? Yes, because I remember the first time I looked at somebody's content calendar as well and said, oh, you actually take this seriously. What I noticed right away is I didn't have one, and there was a reason why I wasn't producing. So for the last 4 years, a non-negotiable for our team has been we are producing content one time a week. If nothing else, we were getting one YouTube video out. Okay. For you, it could be Instagram, it could be your email, it could be your blog. I'm not here to tell you what you should be using. I know what tools work best for us and our ideal clients. Okay. That's part of your work is understanding who your who is and where your fish are. Okay. Where are they congregating? But when you look at this calendar, y'all, you can see that it's been done on purpose. Now, I'm going to open up one of these. My goal is for not for you guys to get in the weeds on what it looks like. And again, we have templates for it. It's not complicated. But what I want you to take away from this is there is a plan. We already have this locked in. This is my commitment to my business. Well, first of all, to me, my family, my business partner, my agents, and our clients we've never met. Right? That is my commitment saying this is a non-negotiable for me in the remainder of the year. And it may look like a lot, but y'all, without this, I wouldn't be sitting next to these wonderful human beings. We wouldn't have been able to hire a Chelsea. We wouldn't have a Madison and a Stacy and an Ashley and a Lori and a Cindy and whoever else is going to come onto the team and give them opportunities that we never thought were possible. Okay, so when you look at this, there is intention behind it. We've already got scripts and everything built out because it's hard work. But the reality is, we have to do the work if we want to win. So our templates are really simple. It doesn't matter what piece of technology you guys can use your Google Calendar, your Outlook. None of this matters, the technology side. This has made our life a little less complicated, but the reality is there is a schedule. Okay, this is why it's important. All right. Now, I know that can be overwhelming looking at 3 months of content. I totally get it. Y'all, I have to go do it. I'm fully aware of how quickly you can be overwhelmed by that. Right? The property tours that we added on for the back half of the year because we know that we're leaking and our boat's got a little leak and we're trying to make adjustments to it. Like that requires Juan to leave the house, who hasn't really left the house in a year for a lot of different reasons. I've got out, but to be honest with you, I lost my mom. I lost an incredible human being, an agent on my team, and my house flooded. I got depressed. I had a really, really rough winter in a year. I realize that. I'm finally out of the funk, and I'm not in here grasping at anything. I'm just sharing with you guys. I don't even know how far down the rabbit hole I actually was. All right. But here we are. All right. Here we are. And I've made this commitment to my family, my team, and myself. And y'all have to. Remember when I said earlier, this was simple, but it wasn't going to be easy because it was going to require accountability and responsibility. Okay. Now, what we're doing may or may not be perfect for you. That's not the point of why I showed you the calendar. I showed you the calendar because you have to understand that there is a plan behind it. Okay. Now, We need to break this down to simple action steps for all of you. Okay, I can work through this 6 ways from Sunday with our team. We're built to do this. But how do you, maybe the solo agent who's just getting up and has a little bit of breathing room, or the agent who's a single mom who's buried but just trying to figure out where the next deal comes from? I understand these things. Okay, we have struggled as well. We've had our ups and downs. We've been in the desert. We've had our 40 years. Like it may come back around. I have no idea. All right. That's in God's hand. The only thing we're in control of is the work. All right. Pray like it depends on him, man. So, what is your weekly plan? And this is where we get to do our work together. Okay, y'all. This is why I'm setting this plane down really close to here. I'm going to walk through the different ways to approach this and how to implement this immediately for your business. But what I really want you to understand is like we've got to make this into digestible pieces. Remember what Julie said? Digestible and ingestible, right? We're going from information to transformation. Y'all with me? You tracking? You ready to do some work? It's been too quiet. Unmute. Let me hear you say yes. I'm about to lose my mind. I can't talk into
See,
it back.
Let's
Thank,
go.
thank the
yes,
Lord.
yes, yes.
God, I hate webinar style. Okay. Cool. Love you guys. Can't deal with not having feedback. All right. So what is our connection plan going to be? All right. This is what I want you guys to think of. What is your connection plan? And again, I want to share with you, right? After millions of views, y'all, we've been through this. And I'm not even showing you our socials because we know it doesn't matter. You could stack views up for days, right? But after millions of views and hundreds of thousands of watch hours, we've come to the conclusion that a solid connection plan only needs three pillars to thrive. Okay, so as we talk about this connection plan, this is what's important. And without these three keys, right, it is difficult to turn that attention into business. Okay, without those three keys, turning attention it's inconsistent. You can't count on, am I going to have appointments? Am I going to have opportunities? Okay, it's really difficult to do. But if you have them, your calendar is fully booked. Right, y'all? What do we say about appointments, man? What a blessing. 300 over 300 appointments we've met with people just through scheduled appointments alone. What an incredible blessing. All right. So as we get into this, this is the magic sauce. Okay, the connection plan. Here are the three pillars, right? Personal. It needs to be personal. I'm talking to one person, not many people. Okay. Then we move out to communal. Okay. Community. And then the last is our expertise. So we're going to break these things down. And here's what I want you guys to do between now and the time that we wrap up. I want you to look at each one of these segments and say, okay, now I'm not going to, which ones work well for me in terms of immediately making that depth connection, that deep connection with somebody. And then which ones of these do I already use or enjoy using to get a little bit of width, broadcast, if you will. Okay, so that's where we're going to roll to in this. Making sense? Cool. All right. Personal. And I broke this down to the simplest levels, but y'all, we can definitely get into the weeds here. And I would love to see your feedback on this. Okay. So if you can think of more on these things, please feel free. But when I say personal, what do I mean? Things like coffee conversations. Okay. Our goal here is to dig a moat around our ideal client. Why? Because human connection with your warmest relationship should be our top priority through the remainder of the year. And as a matter of fact, I think that this is where salespeople are ultimately going to find the highest return in business as AI continues to develop. Right? Human connection. Shout out to Sharon Shavasta, who always says that conversion happens in conversation. Okay, so getting deep, personal. Okay, coffee conversations. And I'm going to give you a different version of coffee conversation here in a minute. But birthdays, holidays, life events, these are the things that pop up every day on people's lives that matter the most to them. Okay? You know what doesn't matter the most? The freaking monthly stats or the weekly stats. Okay? I know those things can be valuable at the right time, but you know what is not the most important thing to that human being? The monthly stats. Okay? What is important to them is what is happening with their family? Did they lose a dog? Did they just get a dog? These things, most people share this stuff publicly and wide open on things like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, etc., so forth and so on, right? So these components should be easy. Put yourself on a point system. We're going to put our team on a point system. Okay? Not to make negative, but to help them have daily wins. All right, and I'll give you an example. When I did one-on-one coaching with agents years ago, the first thing that I used to do is I would always come to them and say, okay, we're going to start by having 5 coffee conversations every day. And you'd see their head pop off. You're like, what do you mean? I have to go have coffee with 5 people? No. Good Lord, please no. All right. Now I know some of you that sounds like a wonderful day, but for us innies, if you will, introverts, that is the most terrifying thing that you could ever say to somebody. Okay. Now I know some of you are like, yeah, let's go. I'm here for it. I'll have cocktails and we'll do happy, whatever it is. And God bless you. That is so awesome. I'm so happy for you. But for the rest of us mere mortals, we don't want that. So how could I get into people's world in the most private of moment in a way that they never saw before? So what I started doing is I would pick up my cell phone in the morning, and I would share this with you guys, and I know some of you have heard this before, but every morning I read the word, I read a book, and I have coffee. So what I started doing was going, okay, and when I would teach these agents too, I'd pick up my phone, I'd hit that little camera icon, I would open it up, and I would point it at myself, and I would say, I'd click the video, I click it and say, hey, John and Sally, I'm sitting here. Hey, John, I always individual. Hey, John, I'm just sitting here having a cup of coffee this morning. You came across my mind. I hope you guys are having an incredible, whatever it is, right? I hope you're having a great time. I saw that your son just had a birthday. I just want you to know I appreciate having you in my life. I would literally make it 2 sentences and then just hit send. I would do that first thing in the morning, 5 people a day. And when I was working with those agents, you know who got business? Every one of them. Within 90 days, they had business. Why? Because people would say things like this. They wouldn't respond first thing in the morning. Some of them might give a like or a heart or whatever. They're doing their thing. You're putting their face on. They're getting the kids up or whatever it is. And I know ladies are like, I'm not getting on camera first. I understand. You know what you can do? A voice memo. You know how many voice memos your people got in the morning? None. You'll be the only one. Congratulations. That comes in differently. Video hits different. They'll watch the video. And then what ultimately would end up happening is either the end of that day or within the week, that person would literally pick up the phone and call them. Right? Hey, I want to say thanks. I was having a crappy day. I opened that up and you made me smile. You're awesome. What's going on with you and Sally and da 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 da. Oh, I'm a human being. We just made a huge connection. Okay, that's one way. The other way I taught people to win, and this still works today, is sending personalized video message via Facebook. Okay, does everybody get the notifications of all the birthdays happening inside of their Facebook account every day? The answer is yes, that's rhetorical. If you open it up on the desktop, it will show you on the right-hand side. Your friends here are having a birthday today. If you send them a voice memo inside of Messenger or a video there, do you think it will hit them different? Hey, I just wanted to say happy birthday. Hope you have an incredible day. Hope you get all the love, hugs, and kisses you could ever want and wish for. Love having you in my life. Have a great day. That's it. The whole thing. We've sent holiday videos. Our family, and I should have pulled one up. Kate and I and the kids got up and sang like, what is it? Au bon père. I can't remember. What is the New Year song? We sang that song as a family and sent that video out. You know how many messages we got back? So many people were like, this is so cute. Thank you for sending this. Oh my God. Right. And all of those relationships cracked wide open. wide open. Okay. So where are those opportunities you can look for those people? That's number one. Okay. Now, personal. What's next? Community. This is where things really start to get wider. Okay. And you're going to make this a sandwich essentially. Okay. But this is what's happening in. Think dinner with the family in your hometown. You go to Thanksgiving dinner with, you go back home, mom and pop, and your cousins are there, and nobody's left town except for you, or maybe that's you. I don't know. But what are those conversations that happen at the table there? Hey, I heard so and so sold what's its place, and that's getting turned into an X, Y, or Z. Or did you know they closed the Italian spot that everybody loved forever? Right? But what is happening in and around town? Where are they moving dirt? Right? So businesses coming, opening, businesses closing, developments. And y'all, a lot of you have seen this thing happen over the last year where this has gotten really popular. You see a lot of agents doing this right now where they're going out and showing all the things happening inside of their community. We've called this the what's happening in bucket. People want to know. Right? Now, here is the thing that people miss, and the reason why a lot of people don't get appointments or opportunities from this, because they are in broadcast mode. And they're in broadcast mode to more than one person who is not their ideal client. But when you can do that same thing and speak to your ideal client and think of it this way, here's the question you should be asking. How does this improve things or affect the quality of life of my ideal client? Why? Because if Steve and Sally are your ideal client, they own a home in XYZ, Toronto, or whatever it is, right? And they're building a new facility in their neighborhood that is going to make traffic worse or potentially make um, safety a concern or crime or whatever it is. Are those people now most likely going to start thinking about considering moving because they're concerned about that? Yes. And when you're there to plant the seed, fertilize it, and water it, things really change for you. So think about developments, businesses closing, opening, what is happening in your town. Okay. And then the last of the three core pillars there is the expert. Okay. So we started with personal, very deep. Then we went a little bit wider with reach there. Community, what's happening in and around town. You're still talking to your ideal client, but now you've got into your expertise. And this is where you distinguish yourself from other agents. You show your ideal clients how you view opportunities available in your marketplace and how it can improve or affect their life, right? This is going to move you from a reactionary position, because that's how most agents do it, y'all. Okay, think about how most of your clients come to you. Hey, Cindy, we're thinking about moving, right? Hey, so and so, we're relocating to X. Whatever it is, you're in a reactionary position as opposed to having a machine that's dropping opportunities to you because you've planted, fertilized, and watered the seeds. So when you move out of that reactionary and start doing that, it moves you from the defensive position to an offensive position because you're the one who literally planted the seed in their mind. Hey, they're about to build blank, right? Or they're closing X, Y, and Z, or the jobs have shut down here, right? This could really affect your life in a positive or a negative, whatever it is. That's not for us to really decide, but to show them that you are the expert there drives more depth. So you started, right? If we go back to our slides there, you started personal and deep. You get communal, which gives you a little bit of width, but you're able to keep relationships in touch there. And then you show them your expertise on top of that. These are the three pillars. All right. And those, as an expert, that's, we've all seen these things. Deal of the week, right? Do you want my homes over blank? Or do you like we're in Florida, right? So like who wants pool homes that are all block within blank? That's what people are looking for. We know what they're looking for. We talk to them all day. Right? And you know how you get sellers? You introduce ideas like that. Hey, Ray and Cindy, you guys have been wanting a pool forever. Thing costs 180 grand, right? But the house in the exact community you guys want to be in is now available. Now you got a sale and a purchase because you're deep. You're having real conversations with them because you started with depth, right? My favorite home for sale in blank. That's a great way to get people. My favorite listing of the day, whatever it is, right? And then you can get into market specifics with your people. Why? Because you're in relationship with them, and you can start asking questions about, hey, where do you need me to focus? Not just I'm throwing this broadcast at you all the time. If this doesn't work for you, I want to go back to I don't have his example, but Sharon's email template for his deal of the week. For those of you who have used it or have ever seen him talk about it, what does he say on the very last end of that email? And you can paraphrase. Does anybody know that?
Reply if you'd like more information on this.
Or if this isn't the house for you,
Oh,
something
yeah.
along that lines, right? Yep, you're right though,
Yeah.
Cindy, right? Reply. She said
Yeah.
she said the most important thing. Hey, reply if that you're interested in this, or if this is not the house for you and I'm not giving you the info you want, you tell me. And now because we're in relationship, I'm willing to do that, not just another person throwing information at me. This always comes back to transformation. And I'm as guilty. Actually, I'm probably the ringleader of how much automation, how far away from humans can I get to run my business? And if you're hearing that and you're like, Juan, we don't do that. Man, let me just celebrate you right now. But you also would not be sitting here if you were at the units or volumes that you were trying to accomplish. Right? So we all have something to learn from each other. You all have poured into us to a position where we're looking at this going, we left 250 opportunities on the table this year. Yes, let's celebrate our victory, but we definitely got some work to do. Not only for us, this is for our teams, y'all. I want all of my teammates to make so much money that they don't have to ever worry about where the business is going to come from. All right. We want them to have lives that we dreamed of having when we got in this business. And that is a huge focus of mine. Okay. So I'm going to share this with you guys because people have been asking. We've had a lot of conversations, and I want to get straight up into Q&A. We'll go to any chat you want. That will take you to a website that Eric and I have officially opened the door of coaching. Okay. If you want to know more about that, fill that out. We'll get that information to you. All right. That's not the intent of today. The intent of today is to give you a ton of value, but I want to provide this because I've taken 5 phone calls in the last week about, hey, we heard you mention that you want to coach. So the opportunities are there. So you scan that, you can put in some information. Me and the team will follow up with you. It's probably gonna be Chelsea up front just to get some things dialed in, and then we'll set up a time. Okay, that is going to be the goal here. But what I want to do now is I want to get back into mastermind with you guys. I've got a hard stop at 3 p.m. So definitely wanted to get it in Q&A with everybody and really get into this. And we'll put the link in the chat too so everybody has it. Okay. But we're sharing with